Welcome everyone. I just wanted to give everyone a quick update. I've been working on a new Pistis Sophia astrological timeline from chapter 139, and I've been working on it for a few months now, and I came across some very valuable information from the Theosophical Society on Pistis Sophia that I'm going to read at the end of this, and hopefully it'll clear up the misconceptions. In Pistis Sophia, there are 5 instances where Jupiter and Venus are in opposition to one another, and thus can produce malefacts. So a little preview of the upcoming video, which I hope to have out, well, I will have out before October, but hopefully in the next couple of months, month and a half, 2 months, I'll have it out. Pistis Sophia, chapter 139. I'll have the link in the description box to the text so that you can read the whole thing. This section, how the demon archons take away souls. At the time when the figure appears again, the archons rebel, angry and wicked, immediately going towards the lights. Since you and Melchizedek are not present at that time, and take away the souls that they can kidnap to destroy them with their sinister smoke and evil fire. At that time, the authority named Periplex, together with the demons under his command, withdrew the souls of the passionate, violent, the cursing, the slanderers, and sent them to thick smoke. That's delusion and confusion, and destroyed them with its evil fire. That's all of the passions: anger, covetousness, greed, so forth, so on, to begin their dissolution and their extermination. 133 years and 9 months remained in the punishments of their regions, while they tormented them with the fire of their wickedness. It happened after all these events that the sphere turned on itself, and the little Sabaoth, Zeus, Jupiter, came to the first of the aeons of the sphere, which is called in the world as Aries of Bubastis, that is, of Aphrodite. When Bubastis, or Venus, Aphrodite, reached the 7th house of the sphere, that is to say, the one of Libra, the veils that are between those of the right and those of the left were separated. Jupiter, or Zeus, enters the house of Aries May 10th, 2022 through October the 28th, 2022, and then it retrogrades, and then again December the 20th, 2022, until May the 16th, 2023. Venus shows up to the party in Libra, or Aphrodite, Bubastis, in Libra from September the 29th until October the 23rd, 2022. So October the 23rd. So basically, I guess that we just need to have all our ducks in a row, if you will, before and then during this time period. And here's a little bit of information from the Theosophical Society on Pistis Sophia, and I'll leave a link in the description box so that you can read it all, because I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to read a few portions of it. Okay. The text is divided into 3 major parts. In the first, Jesus is with his disciples for 11 symbolic years, And they write, the Theosophical Society writes a note, and it says perhaps even 11 months after his return from the dead at the Mount of Olives. Now, I just want to take 1 second. This is the only time that I'll interrupt. But 11 symbolic years, yes, symbolic, but then also in the literal term, because every 11 years the sun's magnetic field completely flips, and the nodes, well, the sun really doesn't have nodes, the poles, the sun's north and south poles switch places. So 11 years indeed. According to this and other Gnostic texts, the resurrected Jesus spent some time instructing his disciples before making his final ascension to heaven. Suddenly, in the midst of thunder and lightning, he is elevated to the heights of heaven in the midst of this intense blinding light. After 30 hours, Jesus returns, surrounded by 3 robes of light, with a brighter glow than when he had ascended. Henceforth, he starts to instruct his disciples about his experiences and other occult or hidden matters. The other 2 components of the text are the narrative of the story of Pistis Sophia and additional instructions to the disciples in the form of a dialogue. This article will endeavor to provide the main features of the Sophia myth, which, like the parable of the prodigal son in Luke's Gospel and the hem of the pearl in the Gnostic Acts of Thomas, is a profound revelation of the pilgrimage of the soul. Upon his return from his ascent, Jesus describes to the disciples the hierarchies of the various planes that he has passed through on his way up. This long enumeration of entities is at first quite confusing, since nowhere in the text is there any explanation of the terminology or of the cosmological system into which those entities fit. Nevertheless, it is possible to set out a picture of the cosmic hierarchy of the text. After several incidences with the entities of the lower planes, Jesus finds Pistis Sophia, whose name means faith, wisdom, below the 13th aeon, her original home. And aeons, from the Greek aion, or age, are in this text entities governing zones of existence or planes of consciousness between the heaven and the earth. We don't fight with flesh and blood, but with principalities on high. She was alone, without her consort or her brothers, sorrowful and grieving on the account of the torments that an entity known as Thetes, or the self-centered one, had inflicted on her with the help of his emanations and the 12 aeons. It happened that while in the 13th aeon, Pistis Sophia saw the light of the height on the veil of the treasury of the light, and started singing praises to that light. From then on, the self-centered one started to hate her, as did the 12 aeons below him. The self-centered one conceived a ruse to trick her. Pistis Sophia was led to look below, and there she saw the light of another entity called the lion-faced power. Not knowing that it was an emanation of the self-centered one, she decided to go after it, without her consort, to take its light, thinking that it would enable her to go to the light of the height. Once she descended from her place of origin, she was dragged further and further down into chaos, with the emanations of the self-centered one and of the 12 aeons constantly chasing her, trying to take away her light. When she finally saw Jesus surrounded by light, she cried to the light of the lights and uttered a series of metanoas, or translated as repentances. The symbolism. In all esoteric traditions, the most important inner instructions are always transmitted in symbolic language, thus veiling the sacred from the eyes of the profane. And at the same time, The unveiling of the instructions offers a method for training the disciples' understanding. In theosophical terms, Pistis Sophia represents our soul, or more specifically, the part of our soul that incarnates, namely the monad of consciousness, or the one soul, or the one consciousness, the one mind of consciousness, in the concrete mind. Her name is a key to her role. Pistis is the Greek word for faith. Not blind faith, but faith arising from total conviction of inner knowledge. Sophia is Greek for wisdom. Thus, her compound name indicates the fundamental principle, faith in the light, an aspect of God, that enables her to undertake her mission, namely, the development of wisdom in both worlds. Her consort is Jesus, the aspect of the soul that unfolds the triple-natured higher self in line with Pistis Sophia's progress within the material world. Jesus remained behind in the higher planes when she descended into chaos. This separation expresses the split in consciousness between the higher and the lower nature of man. Although man is really one with his divine self, the usual level of his consciousness cannot reach the spiritual planes, and thus, in the myth of Pistis Sophia and Jesus are presented as separate entities, although they're one and the same. The villain of the story is the self-centered one, standing for the ego, or the lower ego, an appropriate name for the vain and egotistic, quote, I, end quote, which always demands to be the center of attention and always strives for the gratification of the senses, thus causing great affliction for the soul. The regents, or the archons of the aeons, are the main allies of the self-centered one, and they stand for the emotions and the passions of man. Leading them is the lion-faced power, an emanation of the self-centered one, standing for egotism, the strongest force driving man away from God and into chaos. These evil and dark powers are not so much outer demons as they are inner aspects of man himself. Their role is to seize and to fix the consciousness onto the strong and heavy vibrations of emotions, passions, and fantasies associated with sense gratification and mental delusions such as attachment, pride, and ambition. Thus, they are described as actively engaged in trying to pull man down, or in the language of the text, in taking away Pistis Sophia's light. This goes on unremittingly until Pistis Sophia's final liberation from chaos. While chaos in the system of this text is a region of the underworld, the term is mostly used to convey the image of a psychological state of disorder. Since Pistis Sophia is the monad of consciousness, when it is said that she falls into chaos, it means that she becomes prey to mental disorders resulting from emotions, desires, and earthly passions. She becomes conditioned by names and by forms, by cultural values and morals, by a whole gamut of conditions that represent a virtual prison in the incarnated soul. In short, the delusion of separateness. Thus, Pistis Sophia's descent into chaos is a symbolic description of man's entrance into the cycle of incarnation, where he will remain until his personal mission has been accomplished. I'm going to skip all the way down to the bottom of the page. Again, I'll have this linked in the description box so that you can read it all. The cosmology of the Pistis Sophia. The ineffable means unmanifest. The interior of the interiors, Adai and Anupadaka, the mysteries of the ineffable, or the divine plane, the mysteries of the ineffable, or of the logos. The first space of the first mystery is the Atma, or the highest. The first mystery looking within the second place or space of the first mystery is the Buddhi, or the first mystery looking without the first statue, the great light of lights, the Atma, Buddhi, and the Manas. Treasury of the light, the Pleroma. The Pleroma is the higher Manas, and Pleroma means the fullness. So the fullness of mind, or completeness of mind, intellect. Region of the right, you, the supervisor of the light, the first man, and Melchizedek, the 7 amens, or voices, the 5 trees, and the 3 amens. The region of the middle, the twin saviors, or the child of the child. There's the region of the left with the 12 saviors with the 12 powers. There's the psychic plane, or the mixture that Pistis Sophia talks about, the archons making human souls and animal souls out of the mixture, which is the lower Manas. The region to the right is Sabaoth the good, the 5 planetary regions with the 360 powers. The region of the middle, the Virgin of Light. Region of the left, region of the righteousness, region of the 13th Aeon, the great invisible forefather and his consort Barbello, the 2 great triple powers, the 24 invisibles, which do include Pistis Sophia and her consort, or Jesus, and the 3rd great triple power, the self-centered one, or I'Aldabaoth, Satan, whoever you want to put a name to it. Then there's the Hylic, or the astral plane, and that is where we see the 12 aeons, the first 6 suns or emanations of the self-centered one. We have Sabaoth Adamas, the great tyrant, or as I said, I'Aldabaoth, the lion-paced power, lower ego. And under him, there's a second group of 6 suns, and they are the archons of the inferior aeons. And the last one is the material, or the physical plane. And when they speak about the firmament, it's the etheric plane. The world of men is the cosmos, and the underworld, other words, are amenti, chaos, and outer darkness, or confusion. And that about wraps up my little update. Alright, you guys. Much love, light, and peace be upon you all. Love yourselves and love each other unconditionally.